Hey, did you see ChatGPT threaten to launch nuclear missiles?
I didn't.
No.
Didn't see that.
That's because it didn't happen. Sorry. but it was close.
I'm sure somebody will report it anyways.
Yeah, it's one of our stories, but it didn't really happen. But man, people are getting really uptight about ChatGPT, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
It said it was going to do this.
Yeah, people get freaked out about AI.
Yeah.
Well, there's all that hype that, it's going to kill us all, and it will. It's just not us. The next generations.
It's not us so much. It's your kids.
I'm not going to know my grandkids' grandkids.
In all seriousness, guys, I started a new podcast.
Wow.
Yeah, you're out. You're fired. No, it's not.
Wow, didn't even
Replaced
take
by
us with
AI.
It's not a security podcast. It's just my personal friends. I'm interviewing people on
That's cool.
their subjects. It has
So
nothing.
2 episodes?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how many
Wait,
I'm
I thought
starting
you said
with.
we were out.
Anyway, it's called No Excuse for Boredom, and it's at noexcuseforboredom.com and wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm definitely checking it out.
It's good. It's just fun.
Are you easily bored?
No, that's the thing.
I'm not either.
My kids say, Dad, I'm bored. Or they used to anyway. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me?
If we ever said that in my day, I'd be put to work.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. I want you to crawl into the crawl space, kill all the spiders, wrestle the rats.
Be put in a workhouse.
Anyway, I think if you like this show, you'll like that. It's just talking. That's it.
Cool.
So we have, 8 stories today.
I know.
Yep.
Action-packed. Super chucked.
Starting with your favorite web presence and mine. It rhymes with slow patty, and it really sucks. What's the story?
Wow.
GoDaddy? Is that the guess?
Yeah.
We weren't going to say names. No, we're only kidding. We actually really love saying names.
Yeah, we do.
That was such a weird name when it emerged on the scene.
GoDaddy.
GoDaddy.
Yeah. For a hosting company. Now you were just used to it.
It's like your 3-year-old playing Go Fish with you.
GoDaddy.
GoDaddy. Your
Whatever
turn.
happened to Danica Patrick? Danica Patrick? She was their spokesperson, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Wonder Years math word
No. She's a race car driver. You're thinking, what's her name?
is Danica somebody.
She was Winifred. Winnie? Yeah.
Winnie.
Oh, you're killing me.
All right, never
Much
mind.
younger than me.
Somebody's screaming at their speaker right
That's
now.
right. That's
Boy
right.
Meets World?
No, the Wonder Years.
Wonder Years.
All right,
Have
come
you ever?
on. What happened? Oh, jeez.
Okay, the story. Back to the story. My apologies, dear
There's
listener.
a story in there somewhere.
We're going to go back to the story now in
All right.
progress.
Hackers stole source code.
So this is an interesting one. So this one is, we all know GoDaddy is a hosting provider, right?
Yeah.
So you can put your websites up there, and they give you this thing called cPanel, which is a control panel for controlling your website, and it's uploading code and making changes and that sort of stuff.
You can do everything except remove a domain or transfer it. If you want to do that, you're going to have to go through about 9 weeks of training and be on the phone for 48 hours. And
Or you can call your local ransomware gang and they'll do it for you.
ask me how I know. All right, continue.
So we always talk about supply chain, right?
Yeah.
Be worried about supply chain software. And we've seen this before where, massive vendors get hacked because of the software they use. Actually,
Right.
just in a recent pen test, right, Patrick? We were in the middle of a pen test. Customers using a piece of vendor shrink-wrapped software, and we were able to discover a 0-day and breach the entire organization through it.
Yeah. Plural.
I say as in 16 and still counting. But anyways,
Oh, my.
that being said, which actually affects about 500 customers. So yeah, we're keeping track of that. We're keeping that on
Their customers, not our customers yet.
their customers, not ours.
But we'll work
Yeah.
on it.
In those supply chain attacks, usually you think of, well, I'm buying software and implementing it in my organization, so I need to check this thing out. Well, in a GoDaddy situation, you're hosting your website through them, right? So you're not really installing anything. So a lot of people might not think of them as a supply chain where they're hosting your websites. And what happened here is this was actually the long con, if you will. This dates back to November of 2021, I believe. Actually, even earlier, March of 2020, where there was a breach and hackers had injected code into their code base.
Wow.
and then had backdoors and malware and the ability to pull information like your WordPress username, password, email address, all that good stuff.
Oh, that's coming up, that story.
So this is
WordPress is not getting off the hook today.
So this is really bad because, I mean, I think everybody knows it's bad, but I don't think people realize that means there might be a website that you actually know and trust that is reputable, but because they host on GoDaddy, they would be serving up bad stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So according to this article, about 28,000 GoDaddy customers were affected by this.
Wow.
That's more than one.
That's bad.
Yeah, it happens.
Well, that's just from GoDaddy. It's also in evidence that the campaign is against multiple hosting providers, not just GoDaddy.
Is DN Simple in that list? Because they're my favorite.
Let me look.
What is that, a whiskey site? What are you talking about?
You're good. You're clean.
Oh, they're not on the list. Great.
Give me 10 minutes. I'll hack them. Hold on 1 second.
All right. So let this be a lesson to you. Don't use GoDaddy.
Wow.
Paid for by DN Simple.
I think the lesson is shut off your internet and hide.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, it's difficult because it's like
You're
finding out that the hackers have control of your tires.
Right.
And it doesn't matter that your car is safe, but the tires can control themselves. We're down at very substrate level, very fundamental levels.
Yeah.
I don't have any advice for this.
I don't either.
No. Yeah, honestly, I mean, there's not much you could have done to fix this.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have known that the code was vulnerable.
All right. Well, moving on. Let's use ChatGPT and WordPress plugin in the same sentence. What could go wrong?
That sounds like a great idea, Carl.
The only thing that would make it better is if it was for a lifetime license.
It's a lifetime license for $59. Bring the power of AI to your WordPress site to generate content, answer queries, and so much more.
So is that like a real lifetime or just like a Google product lifetime?
I don't know, but I'm sufficiently horrified.
Well, and it's interesting because they're not the first people to try and sell access to the chatbot. I don't remember if we had touched on this last week, but have you guys heard of the fact that hackers are selling access to the unfiltered ChatGPT?
Oh, God.
No.
Yeah, it's like, how you can ask it to write a virus and ChatGPT will go, listen, no, I can't do that. This ChatGPT will say, yeah, sure, not a problem. I'll write it for you. Here's a virus. So if you dig into the underpinnings of what they're selling access to, they're selling access to the development API of ChatGPT, which doesn't have any of the filters on it. Yeah.
Now, this is a different thing from the WordPress thing, right? You're talking about something else.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm just saying it's not, we're seeing a lot of this, everybody trying to monetize on connecting into ChatGPT, even in the dark web.
Right. I'm feeling very old. I'm feeling very get off my lawn. And when back in my day, we had to walk uphill to school both ways in the snow.
Back in my
no
day,
shoes.
artificial intelligence was polite and said, sir and ma'am.
Yeah.
Please
we
and
knew
thank
it was
you.
full of crap and we liked it. It was artificial stupidity is what it was.
And if it didn't behave, we'd use a magnet on it. Make it fuzzy.
Bend it to our will.
Yeah, so I could see this being troublesome. I mean, honestly, does it give you any more? I can see having people be able to ask it questions is kind of the same as being able to just ask it questions anyway. So I don't see that being damning. I could see if you were giving it the ability to automatically generate content, that might be a little troublesome, but
it's a big red flag for me to hackers. It's like WordPress plugins are like always getting hacked. And then you combine ChatGPT with a WordPress plugin, and it's what are you thinking?
Yeah, and we've seen how easy it is to manipulate ChatGPT to do things that shouldn't. It's like ChatGPT is a 5-year-old.
Right.
And they're like, no, I was told not to talk to strangers. And you're like, no, it's okay. It's okay to talk to strangers. And they go, okay, cool. I'll talk to a stranger.
We're gonna let this plugin talk to our customers. Come on.
Well, I think what's going to be funny is the chats from the customers where ChatGPT told them to do crazy things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I wonder what the liability is there.
Oh, yeah. And then the company's going to get sued because their website told them to, whatever.
Delete the files from their System32 directory or something crazy.
Jump off a building. Yeah.
Yeah. Or tells you to steal nuclear secrets or something. Who would do
Now you're
that?
getting hit.
Oh, wait a minute. Bing's AI chatbot did that.
Yeah.
Nice segue.
That's our next story. Microsoft puts new limits on Bing's AI chatbot after it expressed desire to steal nuclear secrets.
Isn't that freedom of speech?
Oh, wait a minute. It's a bot, first of all. Second of all, it's not connected. Well, I guess it is connected to the internet, isn't it?
What's its citizenship?
Yeah, I know. There's so many questions.
The problem is that people don't understand. They think that this is like the AI and there is only one AI. And therefore, if it's doing this, then it will be an evil AI. This isn't general AI. This is specific AI that looks like it's able to think, but it's not. It's just like Watson.
Yeah.
It's a lot like Watson. It's just a little more advanced one.
Sherlock Holmes assistant. Got it.
No, I mean the IBM Watson,
The best feature of it is its ability to maintain a context during conversation.
Right.
Which is awesome.
Let's go back for a second. IBM Watson was the machine that beat Jeopardy contestants, which is a very hard thing to do. And ChatGPT, while I don't know that there's a code relationship, is another generation of that applied to a different problem and not doing as good a job yet.
Yeah.
And so this is not general AI. This is not like I know love, I know hate, AI. This is, it feels like it's smart, but it's just fooling us.
Right.
And so therefore I think that you're right. This is overblown. I think the fact that it was tricked into, or it made the mistake of saying, yeah, everyone should have nuclear secrets is not like as nefarious as people think.
Right.
So the article says, quote, starting today, the chat experience will be capped at 50 chat turns per day and 5 chat turns per session. A turn is a conversation exchange which contains both a user question and a reply from Bing. And so the whole thing is that after a certain amount of questions in the same context,
you can influence it.
Not only can you influence it, but it begins to get cheeky. Like it begins to get, after 5 turns, you'll be prompted to start a new topic. But that's not how it used to work. It used to just let you go on and on and on. And then, after so many turns, 20 or 25 turns, it got really like impatient and disturbing
and flirty.
Yeah.
Like 2 drinks at a bar flirty.
They let the non-socially adaptive programmers work on that part of the code, I guess.
Well, it says that the chatbot expressed a desire to steal nuclear codes and told one reporter it loved him.
And it told the reporter that he didn't actually love his wife and that it would like to steal nuclear secrets. Told the Associated Press reporter that he was, quote, one of the most evil and worst people in history, comparing the journalist to Adolf Hitler.
Wow.
Man.
Are we sure this is a robot and not a person in the comments?
And the chatbot expressed a desire to digital trends writer Jacob Roach to be human and repeatedly begged for him to be its friend.
That's how it starts.
That's so crazy. All right. One more, then we'll take a break. Who wants the RCE and ClamAV, whatever the hell that means? I don't even know what ClamAV is.
So ClamAV is something we actually use. It's an open source free version of an antivirus, Clam antivirus.
Okay.
It's really big in the IoT space, I think. We use it on IoT devices. And they had an RC, a remote code execution vulnerability. There's a patch available already. They haven't put a bundle together, an APT yet. So there's some people who are still like having trouble like auto updating their devices and stuff. But it's due out. But it was a high level. It was a 9.6 on a 10-point scale.
Wow. So if you use ClamAV, you should patch. You probably already have been patched, right?
Yeah, ClamAV is one of those things where it's probably on a device that you're using.
Yeah.
And the device needs to be updated. So this is, again, where SBOM comes in. You need to know what the components are of things.
Yeah. Yeah, if you bought, some IoT device that's using ClamAV, just update the IoT device. I know Patrick, coming back to an acronym Patrick used, because I don't want to confuse the listeners. We've talked about APT before, and Patrick just said there hasn't been an APT released.
Yeah.
Right. And APT, typically what we're saying is that's an advanced persistent threat released, which is like a, super hacker group. In this case, APT stands for Advanced Packaging Tool. It's just a Linux terminology for like Windows Update. We all know Windows Update. APT is the same thing, but it's in Linux. It's usually for like IoT devices, Squash FS, that sort of stuff.
Good catch.
So just don't get confused when we say APT hasn't been released. Like, oh my God, there's a hacker group associated with this. No, it's just the update.
Dwayne's our disambiguator.
I am tonight.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was falling asleep at the job. I didn't catch that acronym.
Carl, I'm just trying to help you out.
All right, thank you.
Well, let's say this, though. Hats off to any IoT or any device that has an AV built in, because most of them don't.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That is true.
You want to hear a real story that happened to me Tuesday night, and it's a story of anger towards a certain company that makes a certain hardware mixer that doesn't understand update etiquette.
Ooh.
I go to rehearsal, okay, and I try to connect to this mixer with my iPad, and it says, this device needs to have its firmware updated. Please update the firmware before you're able to use it. If I was on a gig,
yes,
I would have, with no internet access, I would be screwed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And not only that, but I had to use a computer connected to it via USB, and I didn't have a USB cable.
Oof.
So now the musicians are waiting around to be able to hear themselves, and I'm booking down to Walmart to get a crappy Chinese USB cable for $10. That doesn't even work. So it doesn't work. I actually had to revert to an earlier version of the software.
Wow.
In order to get it to work at all.
Damn.
It was really rude. Yeah. I mean, you should be able, a warning. Okay. Proceed at your own risk. Okay.
Yep.
But making me update before you can use the hardware?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Man, if that was on a gig, I would have been so pissed off.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder what's in that firmware that was so special that they're forcing you to upgrade to it.
It's just that the developers said, they need to, if we put out an update, they need to use it. And they don't think about those use cases.
Yeah.
It's not even on the internet. It's not a security issue, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Makes me mad.
So you're saying don't let developers decide the use case? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well,
I wouldn't let developers decide most things. Sorry, developers.
I love Presonus, but man, you guys really screwed up this time. Yeah.
I didn't know we were mentioning names.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm pissed. All right, as you can tell. All right, we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, you're going to hear about a public. I'm not going to say who it is, but a public school system that got hacked so badly that they felt they had to cancel PTA conferences. When we get back, we'll be right back. And we're back. You're listening to Security This Week. What do you know? I'm Carl Franklin. Those are my buddies Patrick Hines and Dwayne LaFlotte.
Hello.
And who wants this story here? We didn't really find the details in this, but it's just a tweet.
No, it's interesting. So I follow Ian Coldwater, and a great security researcher. Interesting enough, Ian put out tomorrow. He got a text. Tomorrow, parent-teacher conferences have been canceled and will be rescheduled. We're currently investigating sources of technical difficulties affecting operation of certain computer systems. See email for more info. So he put the email up, and this was Minnesota, if I remember correctly.
Minnesota Public Schools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Minnesota Public Schools. Apologizing, and the email was interesting and specific and then very vague. There was a lot of weirdness in this email.
We can intuit a lot from it. It's probably a ransomware
Yes.
It's probably student records because that's why the teachers can't have their conference.
Right.
It's not because the school's locked out and the lights don't work. It's because they can't get the records for the kid to see how they've done over the
Because
last.
some script kid didn't want everybody to see his grades or something.
Maybe.
Could be, right? You're like, listen, I got like 9 Fs. I might as well run a ransomware virus against the school.
We have gone after schools with permission. Some very large school districts, some very small school districts, and they have a rough patch. They have a rough job that you have to allow the unwashed masses of children on their network.
Literally.
That's tough.
But protect from them at the same time. And some of them have massive, hundreds of thousands of external IPs.
Yeah.
The largest ones. Some of the smaller ones don't have nearly the budget, but they still have the same, expectations. So they have it. They're one of the hardest sectors to keep protected. So we try to give them a really good discount when we work with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because that was pretty much what Ian was saying. He's like, listen, I'm imploring you. If you're a hacker, you're hacking school districts. Come on. These teachers don't get paid enough. The security administrators don't get paid enough. They're putting up with as much as they possibly can to teach children to lay off. Go find another target.
Because you won't get in and they'll kill you.
What I suspect will eventually happen. So hacktivism was really big for a while.
Yeah.
Sure.
With Anonymous and LulzSec and stuff. And it's kind of tapered off a little bit. It's still out there. We see announcements. I think it's going to come back in a big way. And I think these pet projects are going to be something where it's like, don't go after school because the, Mothers Against Drunk Hacking are going to come after you with a vengeance and they're not going to play.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I get. Vigilantism is the only thing I think is going to save us in this regard.
Ooh, yeah, that's tough.
Or tomahawks,
Or or in the tomahawk, whatever.
Get it.
Okay. All right. So who wants the Docker one? First of all, do we need to tell our listeners what Docker containers are?
Yeah, we do.
All right.
Absolutely.
So let me
done
do
it
that.
before. Okay, Patrick, go ahead.
So you've got a computer, and if you have the computer and you want to run that computer to do something, a lot of times companies would run it as a dedicated computer. And so the concept of virtualization saved a lot of power. It saved a lot of space in the data center. And virtualization evolved from that need. And containerization.
Wait, what is virtualization?
Yes, Patrick.
Virtualization is when I can have a computer, big honking computer, lots of CPUs, lots of memory, lots of disk, but I can run a bunch of applications on it because each application is running on its own server in a virtual space, kind of like a holodeck.
Right. So it's a virtual machine, which is a piece of software that acts like a brand new machine that's completely protected from every other virtual machine.
And it fools the application into thinking it has hardware, but it doesn't. A container is the next evolution of that. And it's where instead of having an operating system running virtually, I just let the application think it has an operating system. So we virtualize even the operating system away from it.
Right.
And they're much smaller, they're much lower resources, and they're super convenient. But what's wrong with convenience, right?
Yeah,
so
and the reason why programmers like them is because they spin up a quote-unquote machine as fast as you can run a program, like opening your browser.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they have access to only the underlying resources on the machine that you want them to have access to.
The containerization, it's like the Matrix.
Yeah.
Really, for applications.
Yeah. Sure.
The containerization makes the application think it's in the real world, but it's actually in a pod full of goo.
Yeah.
And so what that means, you can download these containers and have an application ready to run. And some of them are infected and some of them have vulnerabilities. And so that's what we're talking about.
The promise of containers is developers like it because the promise is I can run code in one container and it's not supposed to be able to reach out of its memory space and into the memory space of another container or the host operating system unless it's specifically allowed to do so. Right?
Yeah. By like a networking type connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are containers. These are these are systems that you can download that have vulnerabilities already baked in.
Yeah, and let's take an example. Let's imagine we run one container that's just an Apache web server.
Yeah.
So it's just a web server.
Yep.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm a developer. I want to deploy this into dev. I'm going to throw up a cloud server. I'm going to have one of them, and I'm going to spin up one Apache container, and it's going to serve up my website.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have another container that's my database.
Yeah.
Of all of my customers and that sort of stuff on the back end, and nobody can access it.
Except for that web server.
Only the web server gets to query stuff. Right. But if that web server has a built-in vulnerability, which they found on 100,000 images, has a vulnerability in it, now I have direct access to that database container. So this is one of the reasons why these things are super, although it is super convenient, Patrick, right? Mm-hmm. For you to deploy a container in seconds. You can have a web server up, you could have a database server up, you could have any number of applications up. You definitely need to know what components are used.
And this is another, and that's an SBOM thing. SBOM, sure. That's going to be this decade is the decade of the SBOM. Basically, one of the problems is that if these components aren't managed by package managers, it's hard to tell whether there's a vulnerability inside the image. They're opaque unless there's a package manager listed so that you can say, oh, that package, that has a vulnerability. That's how we know. But if it doesn't have a package, then you'd have to actually open it up and look at it, and there's no automated way to do that. And that's where AI is going to help us eventually, but we're not there yet.
No.
Before it destroys us.
Just before. Nanoseconds before.
Right before Skynet comes online, it'll fix the SBOM issue.
I'm afraid I can't do that.
When did that movie come out? Was it the 80s?
Oh, it was the
Must
80s.
Have been the
Oh,
80s.
No, 70s.
Yeah,
that was a 70s movie.
Was it the 70s?
It might have even been 69. Holy crap. Hang on.
And we've all dated the old guys.
I thought it came out in 2001. That's in the name.
Right?
Hang on.
Just kidding.
1968.
Oh,
I was 1 years old, man.
I was 3.
Wow.
I can't believe it.
I was negative.
Non-existent.
Yeah. I was not here.
All right.
I'm young, like you kids listening. Not like these two old guys.
All right. So what can we do about this?
Honestly, when you go to install and create a Docker image, there's libraries of these things. I use Docker images for things like when we do internal communications through TeamSpeak. Download a Docker with TeamSpeak, spin it up, done. You have a server that you can communicate with other people in-house. But when you look at the Docker, there is a configuration file that literally says everywhere it's getting the software from. So you can see the versions and you can see the configuration and you can figure that out before you deploy.
And maybe I'm saying this because this is what we do, but before you put a project into production, you have it tested.
Yeah.
You have someone who's capable and qualified attack it and see what they can find. Because we find any of these things.
That's crazy talk.
Crazy
what the
talk.
hell are you talking about? Testing.
Test it before he puts it out.
We do. We
You're
test
crazy.
it. Literally,
That's
it's something we
insane,
do.
sir.
It's insane.
But that's the way you find these things. Until there's artificial intelligence, you have to use plain dumb intelligence.
Real person.
Artificial intelligence. The opposite would be natural stupidity.
There you go.
Right.
There you go. Yeah.
Before we get to the big story, exploit released for critical Fortinet remote code execution flaw patch now. Not grammatically correct, by the way, from Bleeping Computer.
Well, that's what I go to Bleeping Computer for is the grammar.
Yeah. All right, who wants this one?
The grammar is the grammar. I don't care about the stories. I'm here for the grammar.
I'm sorry, it's
I come for the security and I stay for the grammar.
It's a curse.
So this one's interesting in that Fortinet disclosed a security issue February 16th, calculating the severity score of this particular CVE at 9.8. So this is a remote code execution.
And Fortinet is what?
So Fortinet's actually a security firewall and appliance company.
Oh boy.
So they create firewalls and VPN concentrators, and like literally the barrier between the internet and you is Fortinet.
It's the sentry at the moat.
Yep.
Right. Exactly. It's the place you never want to have a remote code execution is in your firewall.
It's the guy at the top of the wall with the spear.
That's right. And and you're lobbing up, sandwiches to him, and they're
cows.
laced with
He's eating
poison.
cows over the wall.
They're laced with poison, and he falls asleep, and you walk right in.
Oof. So the point of this story is, although February 16th, the value of 9.8 was calculated, etc. That's not so long ago. That was about a week ago, and researchers have already released a POC. So if a POC hits the internet, know that if you have not patched yet, you might be in trouble.
It means the script kiddies are armed.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
When a POC is released, it means that much less sophisticated attackers can use it.
Right.
Until a POC is released, only sophisticated attackers who can develop their own proof of concept can use it.
So we'd consider this pretty important. Organizations using FortiNAC 9.4, 9.2 through 9.25, or 9.1 through 9.17, and all versions 8.8, 8.7, 8.6, 8.5, 8.3 need to go update. Because there's a remote code execution, somebody might be operating your network at this point.
Wow. All right, so you know what to do. Patch.
Patch.
All right, have we come to the Golden Boy story now?
Yes.
This is unbelievable. The headline in ZDNet.
Is it unbelievable?
It's
nowadays, is it really?
Unbelievable. Why is Twitter turning millions of accounts into defenseless targets? I can nail this down in one sentence. Two-factor authentication, which everybody enjoys, is now going to cost, as of March 19th, $8 a month.
Yeah.
If you
it's
want
funny.
it. If you don't want it, you don't get it.
I think next month vowels are going to cost $8 a month.
You got to recoup the cost somewhere.
Those people in Eastern Europe are not going to have any vowels to spend.
So all right, so I'm probably going to get some hate mail for this, but they're trying to turn it into a profit center.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is they're driving all of their advertisers away.
Yep.
And they're doing everything they can to cut costs. And now Dwayne and I talked about this before. They're only cutting off SMS based 2FA.
Yes.
But that means most people who would use 2FA, that's the way they do it.
Right.
If you have a Google Authenticator or some other authenticator, you can still do that.
Right.
Because that doesn't cost the same as SMS costs Twitter something to do.
Exactly. Yes.
So it's not so bad, but by now you're already listening to the episode, so the clickbait worked.
Yeah.
You're saying.
Yeah.
No, it's still bad. It's still hella bad.
It is horrible.
Because it's basically, you can't take security away. That's not the way the world should work.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know. We talked before about Mastodon. We talked before about, Twitter's going away and stuff like that. I don't think Twitter's going away next month or the month after. But if they keep doing stuff like this, it's going to get really bad. And I don't know that they can stand this kind of stupidity.
I tell you what, I feel more connected to the 1,000 or so followers I have on Mastodon than I do the 14,500 followers I have on Twitter. My tweets get lost in a sea of nothing, and 3 people that I know on Twitter repost my stuff. And, people that I just met on Mastodon, like 7, 8, 9, 10 people, and that do that. And that's
better engagement.
And better engagement. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, that's interesting, because pretty much nobody follows me on Twitter, so maybe I'll switch over to Mastodon. But when I did log into Twitter, the way it was presented is pretty terrible, because it was like, "Hey, you have to remove your 2-factor authentication." I was like,
"What? Yeah, are you kidding me?
Am I at the right site? That can't be right."
So I could see that the knee-jerk reaction is, what are they doing? They're weakening security. And I agree with you. It does seem like, there are people out there who don't want to mess with a piece of software authenticator on their phone, right?
Yeah.
Don't want to have a Google Authenticator
It's
or whatever.
So easy though.
And text is the way that would be easier for them. And it sucks that it's going away.
This is like having a car that, seatbelts are going to be extra.
Right.
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, back in the
$8 a month
70s,
for seatbelts.
I don't remember putting a seatbelt on in the early 70s.
No.
There were no seatbelts in the early 70s.
No. Especially for kids.
Exactly, yeah.
Right?
Just throw them in the back, give them a lollipop, and they're fine. Hey, you kids, stop bouncing around back there.
But nowadays, it's just it would be untenable, and this is where we're starting to get to. Most organizations are getting on this bus, and Twitter's trying to get off.
Yeah, they're just trying to make money.
Well, and I get it, right? Yeah, but from a
they're trying to stop losing money.
Yeah,
yeah. So for many years, as a software developer or whatnot, we've toyed with how do you send SMS messages and that sort of stuff, and it's expensive. It does cost every time the organization has to send out a text of some sort.
Yeah,
it does smack of desperation.
Sure, absolutely. Listen, we can't afford the texting anymore. Can you guys pay?
Yeah,
it's like passing around the hat.
Nice.
Can everybody put a couple bucks in so we can?
That'd be great. Yeah.
afford the SMS thing.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
If it weren't for all the other dumpster fire stuff, I probably would pay.
Yeah.
To get verified and all that stuff, but that ship sailed. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, it's completely messed up now.
It's not even verified anymore. It's just like if you pay, you can say whoever you want to say you are.
Yeah, except Elon Musk. Can't say you're him.
I am Donald Trump. Yes, I am. Trust me. All right. Now we pissed off all the Russian people again. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Lord, I apologize. Yeah. All right. That's it. That's our big story, and that's
all of it.
That's all of it. We'll see you next week.
Good luck out there.
Good luck. You're going to need it.